really excited to be here. We have another new host, or new guest, I should say. My host here, Naser.
Am I being
Yeah, I was
impressed?
going to say, wait a minute. We definitely don't have a new host, but we do have a new guest, which I'm excited about. So you can tell we're both excited. Naser, how are you doing today? How's everything going?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Chris? I know that you just came from Black Hat, so how was that experience?
Oh, yes. It was the land of the nerds, right?
I
So
love
many
it.
people coming together, talking about generative AI, talking about security and risk and everything in between. But more importantly, it was really good just to reconnect with fellow colleagues that I've, worked with in the past, just seeing old familiar friends and faces. That's what really, gets me fired up and was really enjoyable. No issues with the plane, thankfully.
Love
I
it.
got back safe and
Love it.
sound.
I feel
So,
like you're cursed somehow every time we have
yeah,
layoffs
my
coming up.
stories.
Yeah.
We'll have to have
There's
a
always a
separate
delay, there's always a
podcast.
change of airport.
Yep. Delays. So, without further delay, I'm pretty excited that you were able to secure our next guest here for the Now at Night podcast. And
Yes,
Nasser, if you don't mind, just kind of bringing up, a little bit of a teaser trailer of who's going to be introduced on our Now at Night podcast, and I
absolutely.
think that will set the stage for our listeners.
Absolutely. So, actually, I'm going to start with a brief story. So,
Love it.
as you all know, as listeners, hopefully, if you've been listening long enough, you know that I transitioned into becoming an architect on ServiceNow, starting of this year. And that was really an introduction for me into a lot of new, I want to say, gears that work behind the scene of ServiceNow that I personally did not know existed, or what exactly did that mean. Now, one of those roles that were slightly new to me was an engagement manager. I didn't really much know what to expect from an engagement manager or how do they run things, but after a while in my role, I honestly have worked with several amazing engagement managers. All of them were fantastic, literally no exceptions. But one of them definitely stood out. That was Gene Dunn, who is our guest for today. Gene is a fantastic engagement manager. I literally cannot have done the work that I've done if he did not exist on my account. So I want to start with thanking him for being an amazing guy. And I also want to welcome him as our guest for this month to basically speak about his experience and how he landed in this spot. So join me, everyone, welcoming Gene Dunn into our podcast. Hey, Gene.
Hey, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate it.
Of course. So how are you today, Gene?
I'm doing well. It was my birthday this weekend. I had a great
Oh, happy
weekend,
birthday.
and thank you very much. And I'm flattered and excited to be a guest.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for agreeing being part of this episode. I really appreciate it. So tell us a little bit more about you, Gene. What was your journey and how did you end up joining ServiceNow?
So it's a long journey, but I'm going to try to make it as short as I can. So um, when I graduated high school, I really thought I wanted to be an accountant, and but I wasn't 100% sure. And I also wanted to join the military for a while. So I joined the reserves. I was in the reserves for a couple of years. I was active for training. I got out and started going to school to be an accountant and got a job as an accounting clerk. And I hated every minute of it. And so I decided that wasn't the right answer. But that job exposed me to this was early in the days of desktop PCs. Actually, like everybody in the company had a desktop PC, and we would do accounting stuff. And it was actually Lotus 123 back in the day, and I exhibited some proficiency at that. I had a computer as a teenager, which was kind of uncommon, and so I had been dabbling in IT um, on the side, and long story short, I ended up uh, uh, working my way into IT kind of indirectly. I ended up working at a manufacturing facility managing inventory again while I was going to school. And they decided this was, for the decentralization from mainframe to client server computing. And they said, hey, we're going to put a server in your plant and you're not going to have to communicate to the mainframe down at corporate anymore. And you're going to need to hire somebody to run it. And the plant manager said, that sounds expensive. I got this kid working out on the shop. He's pretty good. Why don't we let him do it? And At that point, I became a Unix system administrator and Oracle database administrator. I did that for a number of years. Eventually, I ended up at EDS, which was procured by Hewlett-Packard, and then I transitioned to Hewlett-Packard. And I was part of Hewlett-Packard's enterprise services group. So we delivered services to customers. I was either a line Unix system administrator, database administrator. Eventually, I was a team lead. And this was prior to IDLE really taking hold in the United States. And I started learning about it. People started noticing that I was good at doing my teams were good at managing service management. They knew how to manage their tickets. I made sure that we had tickets for everything. And so that created an opportunity for me to move into service management. I became IDLE 3 and later IDLE 4 managing practitioner certified.
Nice.
And in that role, I implemented and managed a number of IT service management platforms. So that was really my start in IT and how I got into service management. And then one day I was working at a company and they were replacing their IT service management platform with ServiceNow. And as the service manager, I was the product owner for service management, which was the only part of the tool we were using at the time. Became very involved. And I will say that it was the first tool that I had ever implemented in my career that did what the sales guy said it would do. And I was exceptionally impressed with the quality and the vision of the product. And I knew then that I eventually wanted to work for ServiceNow. So.
That is incredible. And I can't emphasize how this is usually a common theme with someone working with ServiceNow and then eventually working for ServiceNow. The pipeline is definitely great. And that just speaks wonders about our tool and how amazing it is. And I'm not saying that because I'm an employee.
Yeah, I would like to echo that. And on top of that, Gene, thank you for your service. I actually had a couple of family members who were in the Army Reserve as well. So I imagine that experience also helped you approach life and kind of discipline that resiliency within these different technologies. I was really curious too on what you mentioned about Lotus 123. You actually kind of tickled my spidey senses were tingling there. I actually use that. You wouldn't believe it, but I actually used Lotus 123 at a company that was migrating away from those environments and data lakes and databases. It was enhancing a bunch of columns and palettes, and it was quite a nightmare. And then ServiceNow actually came into my life, ironically, as you mentioned. So it's really interesting and intriguing to hear that journey and that growth you went through, but how technology was able to bring you into these different spaces, and now here at ServiceNow, right? And I was just curious, from the ServiceNow experience, right? When you look at all these different areas that there's so many challenges, complexities in life, as well as in the business. I was curious, in what ways do you help clients and customers that don't know what ServiceNow is or don't know how to use some of this technology? What are some recommendations or kind of common practices that you would say to someone who maybe has never heard of what a ServiceNow does, right? One day it was just ITSM, right? Now it does so many things. I was curious what you did in your past to help you spearhead some of these different areas in your life.
Sure. So I'll answer the first question first, which was, how do I approach it, and why do I approach it the way I do? And so to kind of continue my employment journey, I was the product owner for ITSM. Eventually, I became the platform owner for ServiceNow. The company that I worked for actually owned a number of other companies, and so we ended up implementing it at a lot of the child companies. We were domain separated. Each child company had its own subdomain, and I was the platform owner. And so I also managed service desk and operations teams and security operations teams throughout my career. And then I moved to another company. They already had ServiceNow implemented. But during my time at those two companies, we implemented HRSD, we implemented source to pay, and some of the other features that came to the platform that I wasn't familiar with. And as the platform owner, I became familiar with those, became familiar with running the system administration team or development team, became familiar with Scrum. And I like to say people in my role, there's kind of three kinds of people in my role. There's people like me who aren't really, a lot of what I do today is project management, and I'm not a dyed-in-the-wool project manager. That was not my job for 20 years. I don't have a PMP certification. Basically, I ran projects because I didn't want to report to a project manager. And so that's how I learned project management. And my strength, I think, is as a platform and product owner and being a trusted advisor to our customers and helping them understand what are the risks of customization? How do we look at the value of a light or a heavy configuration against the business value? And how do we keep the platform as healthy as possible and leverage its capabilities? And really, I think the strength is that it is a consolidated platform, and you can share data between all the different modules on the platform for various reasons. For example, if you just look at the ITSM stack, you can have an incident that becomes a problem that eventually gets permitted to a defect that needs to get resolved using the Agile process. And so it goes to the development team that owns that application. Likewise, you have your core tables, so you're not always fighting for a source of truth on, what are the list of users, what are the list of employees in the company, what are the list of locations in the company. That the source of truth for those may not be ServiceNow, but you have it in ServiceNow, and everything else, all the platform entities can refer back to it. Again, leveraging the CMDB, leveraging assets, et cetera. So I think that's really the power of the platform, is that you can leverage all that knowledge and share it consistently. Consistent look and feel, consistent functionality between tables and field and form views, and your users don't really have to learn 10 different platforms to do their job. They learn one platform that performs the same. They may be doing a different function, but they know what the fields look like and how they work and how table view works. So that's what I really think the strength is, and what I bring to the table is being that trusted advisor and helping platform and product owners leverage the tools that we're giving them to get the best results.
So that kind of leads me into wanting to kind of understand more what exactly is an engagement manager. So how would you explain this role to someone who, like me, had never actually encountered an engagement manager until they were part of project that required having an engagement manager?
Sure. So ServiceNow, we offer services to our customers either to help implement or to help execute a project on platform. And when I say implement, it could be a brand new implementation, or it could be implementing a particular module that they don't have implemented currently. And when we do that, we bring a team of resources in. So we have what are called technical consultants, and those are the hands-on keyboard developers that actually execute stories to configure the platform. We have business process consultants, and they're experts on the particular module or what we're implementing, and they're the ones who define what configurations we're going to do, work with the client to define acceptance criteria, work with the client to define, how do you want your approvals configured, or how do you want this form to look, things like that. So they draft the stories that are executed by the TCs. We also have architects like Naser, who's brought in to help make sure that we're following leading practice and that we're implementing and integrating with the other modules on the platform appropriately. And my role is generally looked at as a project management kind of role. So we have, like I said, a team of people delivering. We may have a team of people that are delivering on the customer side. We do projects with customers. We do projects with partners. And it's my job to try and help coordinate that, build project plans, provide status reports, um, review and approve budgets and time cards and things like that. So that's the very tactical project manager aspect of it. But I will also say that my view of my job, and this comes from my background, the two most important things that I do are, one, facilitate the team, make sure that I get blockers out of the way, make sure that, if it's an administrative task or a meeting or something like that, that I can handle it and not waste, an architect's time or a TC's time doing stuff like that. And then also be that trusted advisor to the client and help explain to them, like if we're suggesting something as customization, why they should avoid it, and then talk about, what are the business benefits and do they justify the level of work. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. And that kind of also leads me to asking more detailed question, maybe on how to excel in this role, or just generally speaking, how do you really balance between different customers? Because I know that in my role, I work with a bunch of different customers all at the same time. A lot of them have similar-ish requirement, but not exactly the same. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of all of these things unless you're very organized and have like detailed notes on all of your customers and where you're at, which is what I try and do. But when it comes to you, especially also understanding that not only are you managing that from the perspective of the customer, but you're also managing the individuals who are part of that project. How do you approach that?
So again, I'll answer the first part first. I agree. Everybody in customer excellence, which is the services arm of ServiceNow, it's unlikely you're going to be on one project or one customer. You're frequently divided between customers. For about a year and a half, I was a program director for Dell, and so I was always doing work for Dell, but even there, it was multiple projects, and I had multiple EMs that were reporting to me, and in that context switching, I will admit, is difficult for me. So in order for me to do it, to your point, I have to keep detailed notes.
Yep.
I have to, there are a lot of little tricks that I use to, whenever I schedule a meeting or send an email, I make sure the client and the project name are in the subject. Whenever I schedule a meeting, I put detailed agenda and notes in it. Even if the recipients don't read it, it allows me to have a refresh and know what I'm rolling into the meeting to talk about and be prepared. But that context switching, I will admit that it's a struggle and probably one of the hardest parts of the job. Right now I've got 4 projects that I'm the engagement manager on, and they're totally different. They run the gamut from artificial intelligence project to we're doing a health and safety project, which is a product I didn't even know we had. Right? It's so I'm learning about health and safety while we're implementing and other things like that. So that's how I try to keep it straight. And then I'll say the other thing is, from the team perspective, I try to get to know all the team members and what their strengths and weaknesses and basically habits are, because we have team members that are spread all over different time zones and have different working cadences. Like I have a TC and he consistently puts in 32 hours, but half of them may be, in the middle of the night or over the weekend. And I'm okay with that. Like if that's what he wants to put in his TC hours and he's delivering good code, then I'm okay with that. And so I view my role as, number one, provide top cover, interface with the client. Sometimes we have clients who don't know what they want, or, I've had situations where, you'll have 2 stakeholders on the client side and there's a disagreement on the client side and I have to coach them to a resolution.
Yeah.
But I also want to keep, unless I need the technical support, I want to keep that from slowing down the development and things like that. So my approach is just like when I manage teams directly. My approach was to remove blockers, support my team, and make sure they could do their job. Because I think at the end of the day, most people want to do great work and will do great work if they can focus on what it is that they're supposed to be there for and what they're good at.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what would you say are the traits in an individual who wants to succeed as becoming a part of the EM org?
So, like I said, I think there's kind of three kinds of us in the organization. There's the people like me who have I have about 10 years on platform and product owner experience and platform owner experience and things like that. And then we have others that we've hired that don't really have a lot of ServiceNow specifically project management, but they are dyed-in-the-wool project managers. They've been project managers for 20 years. They know everything there is to know about project managers. And then the third kind is what we all aspire to be, where we're kind of both. We've got enough time on platform that we can be that trusted advisor, and we've run enough projects that we're confident in our project management and budget keeping and the administration of a project. I would say to be successful in this role, you should be at least one of the first two kinds. Either have a lot of ServiceNow knowledge or have a really good project management background. And whichever side you don't know, you should be willing to learn that and learn it pretty quickly. I think it's good if you have agile experience, because a big part of my job on a lot of projects, I act as the Scrum Master. And so it's good to have that agile experience and experience running Scrums and Scrum ceremonies. And then I'll also say you have to, your job is to inflict change on people. And so you cannot be change averse. You have to be willing to adapt, and you have to be willing to just learn all the time. As I said, like I'm implementing part of the platform that I didn't even know we had. And so I'm going out and learning about it. The project you and I are working on, I hadn't implemented that, and I've learned so much about it thanks to you and the rest of the team. And so it's really exciting for me to learn that, but you have to be willing to learn, right?
And Gene, I think that's a really good segue into wanting to learn more and making sure that from that learning experience, then you apply that right into projects, right? And maybe different areas that are outside of the norm of what you handle from a client perspective. I was curious, what do you use? I know we just launched ServiceNow University and a couple other areas, but outside of all that, what do you use and you could recommend from a training perspective for folks trying to get into just in general what I can start with, maybe a good intro or just general areas for our listeners to kind of start that journey across those different systems? What would you recommend?
So if you want to start the journey towards engagement management, or even for potential platform owners and things like that,
Sure.
I strongly suggest Now Create. Now Create is a free part of ServiceNow. It's available to customers and non-customers, and it explicitly provides direct guided detail on how we implement our product. So when I deliver a project to a customer, I'm following a template that is publicly available. Anybody can use it on Now Create. Now, that's, I'll admit, it's the tip of the iceberg, but there is so much good collateral out there, and it is customized by product. And like you can put in there, hey, I want to search for a project plan to implement discovery, ITOM discovery, and it'll find you, all the collateral. It'll show you a detailed project plan. You can click on the project components and it'll show you collateral for that component, like kickoff meeting. Well, here's an agenda for a kickoff meeting. Here's a sample PowerPoint for a kickoff meeting. Starter stories are out there that can be downloaded and uploaded into the Agile tool of choice, hopefully ServiceNow. But that is the first place I would start. And that is a great place for people to start who are maybe project managers but haven't worked a lot with ServiceNow to start to understand our methodology to implement how we implement a ServiceNow product or work a ServiceNow project. And then to your point, ServiceNow University, I especially like, I think it was late last year, early this year, we rolled out basically career paths. So like if you want to be a product owner or platform owner, there's a career path in there and it has a suggested curriculum and take those classes. The learning out there is excellent. A lot of customers have access to the self-guided or computer-based training. If you're an employee at a customer that has access to that training, that's a great place to get started and look. And that's going to be more of the technical side, like learning how to navigate around ServiceNow, learning how the various products interact, and then starting to learn, like if you want to be a particular product owner, eventually it'll lead you to a certified implementer for that product. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. It far exceeded my expectations and some. So very much appreciate that.
And would you say that those resources are beneficial even if someone doesn't want to end up working for the ServiceNow ecosystem?
Oh, absolutely. So the real purpose of Now Create, although we use it internally, obviously, is to enable customers to self-implement. At the end of the day, we want our customers to implement our product. We're not here to be shelfware. And a lot of customers, there are things that they can self-implement. And like I said, the collateral on Now Create runs the gamut from, hey, I want to implement all of ITSM to, hey, I just want to implement, maybe this particular starter pack or something like that. So I would encourage customers to use Now Create, look at the collateral out there. It'll help walk them step by step through how we would do that. And like I said, there are even starter stories out there for a lot of products where, you can upload those stories into your Agile tool and start grooming them immediately. And it'll kind of help lead, if you're going to do an internal implementation, it'll help lead you through, what are the things that we need to discuss and align on before we start executing and configuring.
That's awesome. And would you say there are any resources that are not offered by ServiceNow? Like I know that the ITIL is something that you can go and pursue on your own, not even like part of the ServiceNow ecosystem. But are there like resources that are not specific on ServiceNow University?
I would say if you're not familiar with Agile, Scrum Master certification is a good thing to have. At least for whoever's running your development, preferably for the whole team. Good news, the certification test is open book, so
Nice.
it's almost
I'll take it.
impossible to fail. But you'll actually learn some good Agile practices and learn how to run sprints and learn what the elements of a good story are. So I would strongly recommend that. I would strongly recommend podcasts like this, and there's a lot of stuff on YouTube about either general Scrum mastering or especially about what is a good story, how to groom a story, how to write a story.
Yeah.
I think that's really kind of the fundamental. Like if you don't start with good stories, you're not going to have a good experience. So I think that's probably the most important non-ServiceNow thing that I would suggest.
Amazing. And how does a typical, I want to say, hierarchy of an engagement manager work? Like, do you start as an associate engagement manager and end up all the way as a principal engagement manager? And this is not specific to ServiceNow. I mean, like generally, even in other ecosystem, is there like a specific hierarchy where you could become like a manager of engagement manager? Like, how does that work?
Sure. So I can't speak to a lot of other organizations because this is the only organization where I've been an engagement manager or project manager. Really, I worked in services at HPES, But I was a service manager. I led service desks and operations teams and incident problem change, those type of idle roles. But what I will say for ServiceNow is, yeah, we have roles that range. They go from associate engagement manager to engagement manager, senior engagement manager, principal, and then senior principal. We also have what are called delivery managers, and I'll kind of discuss each of those roles. So associate engagement managers are, they may be new in their career right out of college. Most of the associate engagement managers I've worked with have been fresh out of college. They'll shadow an engagement manager or senior engagement manager. And the first projects they work on will be what we call staff augmentation. And that's where a customer comes to us and says, look, I don't want you to run a project. I just need an extra TC on my team. Can you provide me a TC? And so that's staff aug. We're not really accountable for the delivery there. We're just providing them a resource. And we'll provide an associate engagement manager to process time cards and manage budget and things like that. The next step up is engagement manager. You'll start managing smaller projects. You might still be shadowing somebody at a higher grade. Senior engagement managers are usually taking on medium to large projects. I had the opportunity as a senior engagement manager to be the program manager for Dell, which was normally that's a role for a principal, but because of my experience on platform and because I had already started running a project for Dell and they liked me, I was promoted. I was given the opportunity to be a program manager. That's not really a job title. That's just a role that I had. And then I got promoted to principal, which is where I'm at now. Senior principal just does more of the same. I will say the downside to being a principal is a lot of times you're called in when maybe a project is off track for some reason. You're called in to help get it back on track.
Yeah.
So you have to have that ability to talk with the client and talk about, why is it off track and what can we do to get it back on track and kind of negotiate with them and make sure you manage the rest both to the client and ServiceNow. Delivery managers manage multiple engagement managers, and they're also responsible for maybe a particular swath of delivery. They have a lot more, I would say, accounting and revenue responsibility. They report on revenue a lot, and then manage the individual engagement managers, and they're also an escalation point. Like if I'm having an issue with a client that I can't resolve, or if I'm having an issue with resources that I can't resolve, I can escalate to them and get some additional help there.
Interesting. Now, I feel like we've talked a lot about your, I want to say, career progression and what it means to be an EM and all of that, but just wanted to take a more fun approach. I know that one of the first conversations we ever had that were not around work were when you went to a concert a couple of weeks back. And I don't know why, but there is a general energy that comes from you that you really enjoy music and you're into like concerts and shows. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I do really enjoy music. I will warn everybody that does not translate into a musical ability. I love it, and I love all kinds of music. And I'll tell you, I'm originally from North Carolina. I've kind of lived all over, both from my time in the military and just early in my career. I moved around a lot. We had the opportunity to move here to San Antonio, Texas, about 6 or 7 years ago, and I love it down here. One of the reasons I love it here is within 4 hours, I can go see a live show of any kind of music that I want, whether it's R&B, hip hop, jazz,
Wow.
blues, country, rock. A lot of people tour through San Antonio or Dallas or Houston or Austin. Austin, of course, is a huge music capital.
Mm-hmm.
I will say mainly I love a good show. I have frequently gone to concerts that I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like this music, but if they put on a good show,
I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy it. And likewise, this is a sad note. I went to a concert. One of the people I really wanted to see live was Dwight Yoakam.
Okay.
And I saw him live at particularly, there's a venue here in San Antonio that is storied in country music. It's called Floyd's Country Store. And I saw him there, and it was the worst show I had ever seen. It was like
Wow.
he didn't interact with the audience at all. He was very late to get on stage.
Hmm.
And that was so disappointing. And then likewise, the guy who opened for him is a guy that I'd never heard of called Shiny Rebs. And I was like, oh, this is going to be weird. And it was hilarious. He had great songs. He put on a great show, a lot of crowd interaction.
Hmm.
And so that's what I really love. And then my wife is also, we met through music. We like a lot of 70s and 80s music. My wife has dragged me to 3 Eagles concerts. And I
Love
will tell you
that.
what's that?
I
Uh,
was saying I love that.
well, I will tell you that the downside of 3 Eagles concerts, they were exactly the same. The
Oh
set list,
no.
the set list, the jokes between the
Really
songs.
interesting.
I'm like, boy, they have got this down to a science.
Yeah.
And but still, I mean, it's a good show, and my wife loves the Eagles. We saw uh, uh, what was left of Steely Dan in Las Vegas one time. So yes, I do enjoy music. It turns out we're cruise people. Didn't see that coming, but a couple of years ago we took a transatlantic cruise. We really liked it, and so we cruise. And then we have 3 dogs, and I have nieces and nephews and godchildren that I spoil. So
That's amazing. And
yeah.
honestly, following that story, I've always wanted to see Willie Nelson. And he was coming to San Diego a couple of years back. And I mentioned it to one of my friends. And I was like, oh my God, Willie Nelson is gonna go. Like, he's gonna come to San Diego. I'm gonna go see him. And he's like, don't, please don't. He came like a couple of years ago. And he just like sings one song and then apparently brings his son to finish the concert. And I was like, oh, that's definitely not what I'm gonna sign up to do. So I don't know if that's still true or not, but he's definitely one of the top people I really want to see live.
I have not heard that, and I would be interested. So that venue that I mentioned, one of the reasons it was famous is because early in his career he would play there every Tuesday,
Oh wow.
and they still have that sign up, Willie Nelson every Tuesday, right, or
Oh,
whatever.
nice.
And um, you know, like on the one hand, I wouldn't blame him if he did only play one song. He's getting up there. Uh, but you're right. You're right. I wouldn't want to pay Willie Nelson
To
concert
see his son,
tickets.
yeah.
And that's like my wife and I debate that about the Eagles. Personally, I feel like the Eagles don't exist anymore. But
Yeah, yeah.
uh, the Eagles money is that's a lot of money for hey, we're gonna have Vince Gill instead of somebody else.
Yeah.
And I love Vince Gill. Vince Gill's a great artist, but that's not
Yeah,
who I'm paying to
maybe
see.
maybe it should be named Eagle Junior or something.
Yeah, Eagle version 2,
Yes.
I guess. But
Love that.
yeah, one of the people that my wife and I really wanted to see was Leonard Cohen, and we had the opportunity to see him live a few years before he passed away,
Oh,
and
nice.
and still, even at his age, it was a phenomenal concert. It really
Yeah.
was. It was a very good concert. So
Nice, nice. I bet you have a lot of amazing shows under your sleeve.
yeah, not a lot. I really didn't get into it until we got married. My wife was a lot more used to going to concerts. I had only gone to a couple, but especially moving here to San Antonio, like I said, there's just so many kinds of music venues and so many opportunities to go see great. Another example, Harry Styles. My wife likes Harry Styles. I don't know anything about Harry Styles or One Direction.
Mm.
I could pick out like one song of his.
Yeah.
We went to his concert. He was a great entertainer. I loved that show just because he was a great entertainer. Even though I
Mm.
don't know his songs and it's not really my genre,
Yeah,
it's fat. He is an exceptionally skilled entertainer, and I just
yeah,
appreciate that. So
absolutely. And I totally agree on that. Sometimes even if you're not really into the individual who's doing the concert, sometimes just going to the show is just an introduction into what they do and how they present their work. I know a couple of years back, I went and saw an artist here in San Diego, and the opener was Deutsche, which I wasn't really familiar with her, even though I know like one or two of her songs. And I was instantly captivated. I was like, wow, this is amazing. She puts in an amazing show. She's a great like performer. And now I'm one of her fans. So yeah, totally agree with you on that. I know that we're coming up on time and I don't want to hold you longer than we have to. Again, I just want to thank you, Gene, for taking the opportunity to be part of our podcast. It's a great honor to me and Chris, I'm sure. And know that you're a friend of a pod. Feel free to come again whenever you feel like you have more to share with us.
I appreciate that greatly. Again, I'm very flattered that you invited me on. I hope my answers were not too long and rambling. Sometimes I do that.
No, they were amazing.
And at the end of the day, I just want to stress, again, I'm here because ServiceNow is a great platform, and I truly believe in it. And I truly believe that it can do the things that we say it'll do. I've seen it. I've seen it do that with my own eyes. Absolutely. And if you've been in IT a long time, you know that that's rare, right?
Absolutely.
So, thank you guys for what you're doing for putting the word out there about ServiceNow, and I wish you the best, and I'm happy to be back on anytime you'll have me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gene. Chris,
thank you.
Any last closing words, closing notes?
I don't know. I think Gene needs to join us permanently. He's
yes.
such a joy and a pleasure. And Gene, thank you so much for just, again, sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and just continuing to influence others and other leaders in the space, whether that's project management, ServiceNow, whatever it is. Remember that this is a safe space for you to express what you want to learn, what you want to see, but how you want to collaborate and have that coexistence across different spaces and places. So again, Gene, thank you so much again for just gracing us again on this podcast. Very much looking forward to having you on in the future. I think with that, we'll go ahead and sign off. This has been the Now at Night podcast. Thank you so much, Gene, again. Naser, as always, pleasure. And we look forward to hearing from everyone here soon and looking forward to the next host.
Looking forward to it too. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.